Beautiful Silver City, New Mexico, in the heart of New Mexico, as we welcome you to Grant County at the southern foot of the Pinos Altos Range in the Mogollon Mountains for the Tour of the Gila. Stage 1 today, 3 days of racing this weekend with the time trial today and 2 days of road racing over Saturday and Sunday, tomorrow and day after. Beautiful scenery on tap for the riders today, as they will be racing, of course, in the exact same course that will be racing in the real life Tour of the Gila come this spring. A little bit later, we'll talk about that. Brad Soner here with Lauren Hall for another week of racing in the Echelon Racing League, as we have learned a lot about this field over the last few weeks, and we're going to continue again today, but this one will be different. The first time trial of the year that we see today, and it'll be an interesting one. Going off the exact same time trial that they're going to be riding in real life, and we're going to have a worthy winner out there today. Now, the important thing, 2 separate time trial starts today. We had a start earlier today, and then we're going to have the evening session here right now. Lauren, this is a course that you know well here in Silver City. I say here in Silver City. We're in virtual Silver City for the Echelon Racing League, but I love this time trial. Wide open. I mean, this is a true time trial course.
In my mind, I'm in Silver City. I drove myself to Arizona just to be that much closer. It'll be nice to see after the holidays how everybody is feeling and how everybody comes out of that and really focuses in on this TT and what we can expect from like Godby and Beckley and all these great athletes. This is going to be a good race.
Yeah, a little bit of a break in our schedule. You talked about the holiday break. This is basically the 3rd week of racing that the riders have. Now, normally they had been taking a week off in between races. They had a 2-week break over the holiday break. So after finishing up the Gateway Cup and the Iron Horse Bicycle Classic, 3 days of racing here at Tour of the Gila. Lauren, does that affect things, having a 3rd day of racing here on Friday night? I mean, I have to imagine throwing in the TT for the first time kind of throws off your schedule a little bit.
Yeah, right. I mean, here we are. Like you said, there was already a race this morning, essentially, for some athletes. And so, yeah, to have the different times and, you know, some people are affected and race better in the morning versus the afternoon, and it's a Friday and, yeah, 3-day weekend. Yeah, this can definitely shake up things and put a little bit more pressure on some of those top riders.
Of course, they'll be competing this week for the NFT trophy here in the Echelon Racing League. We've been hearing more and more about these NFTs, and the winner of our overall series will have their very own Season 2 NFT minted by the Echelon Racing League and RGT. So they'll have, well, I guess they'll be racing for 2 prizes. They have the virtual prize here and the realistic trophy. They also have some of the coolest in real life trophies in the country, I think, at the Tour of the Gila. Lauren, I know you've seen these throughout your career, and we also gave these trophies to our virtual winners, the very first edition. In fact, they went all over the world. One going out to Australia with Sarah, and the other one going to Scotland. Then Jackie Godby and Tom Thrall winning theirs as well. So it really is an incredible piece of art. We're going to talk about some of the art and history behind those trophies and behind those bowls. But you can see the close-up right here. It really is one of the very cool parts that highlights some of the cool culture and some of the cool history in Silver City, New Mexico. One of the races with identity in the country, Lauren. It's always fun to go to the Southwest in the United States.
Aren't those beautiful? I mean, that's a once-in-a-lifetime piece of artwork right there. It's just more than your normal trophy that you usually get at bike races. So this is just something very personal, and the small town of Silver City knows how to give out a really good award.
Made by local artisan right there in Silver City, as a matter of fact. Series standings coming into the race this weekend. Matt Usborne moves into the overall lead after last weekend. His Above and Beyond Cancer team has had an awesome run in the first 3 weeks of racing. Zach Nair sitting in 3rd place overall for the Project Echelon Racing team. His teammate Will Harden behind him in 4th. Then Jaden Yeager of Restart Racing has been having some good individual results, but still sitting at 5:32 in 5th place overall in the series standings. A little further down, you see racing with one in there. Walter Clace moving up from the Community League into the pro ranks at 7th overall, and then Valentine Slay in 8th with Oliver Dowd in 9th and Sam Siebel in 10th. Let's talk a little bit about our course time trial today, Lauren. The wide open section of this course is maybe the most unique part about this in Silver City. We're starting just south of the city, and I think it's pretty cool that they're able to close this road down. You see it starts in Tyrone, the town just south of Silver City, but a lot of ups and downs on this one. There's really no flat riding in this time trial.
Brad, this is an iconic American time trial. This is like one that every time trialist looks forward to, and It is such a honed craft of riding this TT. It's so hard going out. It just stair steps up, and then you're screaming back down in your 55, 56 chain ring that everybody puts on a specific chain ring for this race.
Yeah, you climb up pretty quickly, but then you give all that back on the way back. Interesting to hear about the chain ring. It'll be interesting to hear if anybody maybe changes their gearing for the virtual racing. I don't know if we've ever heard of that, but maybe the virtual Tour of the Gila time trial will be the first that we see an equipment change made to accommodate for some virtual racing out there. So you can see the ups and downs, and then obviously a mirrored profile on the way back. So you get a little preview on the way out before coming back. As we said, there were 2 start times earlier today. We had the morning start time to accommodate the European starters. It's about 11 o'clock at night in Europe right now, so we let them start early. 15-second starting interval, so we'll have a lot of riders out there on course, but the drafting will be turned off. So even if they come up on another rider, we talked about the realistic drafting in RGT, that'll be turned off. The riders start based on when they go into the login, based on when they log into the game, and then the GC time will be taken based on the total weekend. So you see right there in and warmed up, getting ready to go here. As Lauren, it's all about the start. You want to make sure you get a good warm-up in before the time trial. You got to be hot when you leave that start gate.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt at all. Time trial is such a hard effort, and we saw some of these results from earlier. A 37-minute effort is just full gas. So, yeah, these guys are going to be fired up and just coming out the gate. Like we said, any of this racing already, you have to start at full gas. So, even more so in a time trial. And like you said, logging in could be another whole game behind in itself of like how and when to log in to see who's going and what their time is, and maybe if you can even try and pick them off. I don't know how this works.
It'll be interesting to watch as you see some of the guys getting their early efforts in the Science in Sport Zoom room, as we're just about 2 minutes away from our race start. Want to bring in our race director, Jack Brennan from Silver City, New Mexico, who has seen this race through the pandemic and its real-life iteration and has also been a huge supporter of the virtual component. Jack, welcome to the virtual Echelon Racing League.
Good evening, both of you. Thanks for inviting me to be a part of this broadcast.
So, Jack, this time trial course, super unique. Lauren was talking about how this is just a classic in the United States, but this has got to be hard to put together. You talk about that wide open section of freeway that you're closing down just south of Tyrone. A lot of work has to go into putting on this time trial.
Well, you're right. We closed down the time trial course completely. The road, it's New Mexico 90, and it goes from through Tyrone and then ends up Lordsburg, New Mexico, Interstate I-10. Work with the DOT here in New Mexico, and also work with the state police. And we're able to close down the course from about 9 o'clock in the morning to about noon to get the pro men and the pro women done with that activity. And then we open up course in the afternoon during the amateur session. But
maybe the biggest hallmark of this one, Lauren was talking about the speed on the way down.
On both sides. We start in Tyrone, and it's a grad for miles Tyrone Pass, and you pass down a mile or so, and you pass the time line, which was right hand side when you passed it, and then underneath a railroad bridge, and it's uphill with some rollers who are around. And that's about 8 miles out on the course. So then you flip it, and then you go the same way. So rollers downhill to the bridge, and then a big climb back up to Tyrone Pass, and then it's really just as fast as you can go, balls to the wall type of descent back to Tyrone, and it is an amazing descent.
And cool for spectators as well. Obviously, they can see the start and then see the finish. The out and back format plays really well for the in-person viewers in Silver City. All right, we have our riders making their way into the pen. So, Jack, we're going to get out to some race action. I'll let you grab your popcorn and enjoy stage 1 of the virtual Tour of the Gila today.
Thank you so much for doing this. I'm watching it, and part of the virtual Echelon race. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jack. All right, there is your starting pen. Again, we did have some starts earlier today, Lauren. 38 minutes. That's kind of the magic time that we're looking at out there today. That was set by Jaden Yeager, we talked about earlier. So that'll be the magic time to beat. We've already got our first riders just rolling out of the start house. This is Hayden Warner, Dr. Hayden Warner, to you from the Above and Beyond Cancer team. Going to be one of our first riders to roll out here. Now, that Above and Beyond, we've been them really aggressive, really strong, really well organized too. But they're all on their own for the individual time trial here.
And Jaden Yeager setting that first or the fastest time. Man, he's going to be somebody to beat because he's a bigger guy, and to know that downhill, like as a climber or someone that may be a little bit lighter going out, they're going to have to really push early in this TT in the very beginning, just like in real life. Like they have to spend so many matches in the first part and hope to hang on and to kind of fall back into that TT position and place and effort on the backside, knowing that you've tried to spend all that energy trying to keep up or overtake Yeager for that descent coming back in.
Have to imagine trying to not having that ghost out there on course that you can watch, trying to hit that time without really knowing what his benchmarks were like is going to be really tough. Not being able to physically see or have even another rider in front of you, a pacing rider, I guess would help. But it'll be interesting to see, not knowing what the rider in front of you is going to be doing for how you try and match Jaden Yeager's pace on these virtual platforms.
Exactly. Like what would be a time split? That would be nice to have. But yeah, hey, we're progressing to that, Brad. We're getting there.
The coders are working on it right now as we speak. All right, so we also saw starts from Smith, Hardin, looks like Furman on course, and Charlie Revel out there as well. So we're going to see all these starts pretty quick. We'll have everyone on course pretty quickly, and then we'll do our best to work our way back through. We are going to have a halfway splits. We'll get a time split halfway through and get at least somewhat of an idea of where these riders are relative to the other riders on course. We don't have splits from earlier today, so we won't be able to compare those splits to someone like Jaden Yeager's time, but we can guess if we split it in half. It's the same for it on the way back. Although I'm guessing we'll see some riders with a much faster first or second half.
Brad, another component that was interesting in real life versus the virtual is I remember just the crosswinds out towards Tyrone being so exposed. Half of the time trial was trying to stay as calm and relaxed as possible in your arrow tuck, because you would literally get blown from the double yellow all the way through the shoulder, and you'd have to fight the bike all the way back, and it was kind of terrifying when you're going 50 miles an hour and you're not really anywhere close to brakes.
You kind of come to an exposed ridge where it opens up a little bit, and I would imagine you see some pretty heavy crosswinds. So I would guess equipment choice pretty big on a day like this.
It was huge. It was huge, extremely important, and thank God that I wasn't a time trialist, because they fretted over this race specifically for months, which is a great thing. That's what racing is about. So yeah, this is great. You can see the profile, top right hand corner. They're going straight up the hill.
Yeah, nice easy 1.6% gradient, just enough to feel it, right? Yeah. That's the false flat that you always hear about. You just feel like you're riding through glue.
Exactly. After the holidays, maybe I had one too many pieces of cake. Or maybe that's just what I needed to get through this time trial.
We talked about Jaden Yeager racing earlier today. We caught a little bit of his action from the afternoon set, or European set, I guess you could say. We had a decent number of riders taking part in that early segment. About 15 riders from our pro men's field rolling out. This was Jaden Yeager leaving the start house. Yeager was one of the first riders off, which I thought was interesting. They start based on the order that they get into the grid. So that means that Yeager was one of the first guys to get into that pen. He was ready to go today. He just wanted to race. He wanted to get that time in and see what he could do. So hit out pretty early and settled in pretty quickly, though. We saw him kind of drop down into the orange and really go into the red zone for the last kilometer of racing. So he's doing about 450, 500 watts as he comes through the start chute there and wraps up at 26 kilometers with the fastest time of the day for the Pro Men. So early benchmark set by Jay Yeager, and now the guys are out there trying to match that time. But again, really, really tough to do without knowing where Yeager was in the group. So this is really just about riding your own race, going as hard as you can as we pick up Samuel Hogman from the Hugh Dog Racing Team in the red zone here. Deep effort for Hogman.
That's what we like to see, the red. Just see you guys getting after it and going full gas and trying to settle in. Maybe, like you said, turn to yellow soon and settle in a bit more and get comfortable because you're going to be here for a little while.
Well, this is going to go one of two ways for most riders. If you like time trials, you're really looking forward to today. I know there are a lot of riders that really like the time trial element on RGT. They like being able to do a 38 or 40-minute effort and saying, you know, I know that I can just dial it in. I can get in the zone. I don't have to worry about playing the game and drafting and following the gaps and things like that. They can just kind of focus on trying to put in that effort. And then there are some riders that say this is the last thing that I want to do with my Friday night. But at the virtual tour of the Gila, it is set up like a stage race. So if you want to race on Saturday and Sunday, the Mogollon and Gila Monster stages, well, you have to do the time trial on Friday night as well. So if you weren't able to make it to the first set, you're here tonight.
This could be your openers, essentially, if time trialing is not your thing. And that's how I would always view time trials, is kind of an opener or just an easy day as much as possible.
I guess a little weird with the timing. We put this evening time slot here, and then they'll turn around and race our normal time slots here in the Echelon Racing League, 11 a.m. Eastern time for the Pro Men tomorrow, as we flip-flop the first starters of the week every week. So this week, the men take the lead, and they'll be back to a morning start time, or relative morning start time for most riders tomorrow.
I'd be curious to talk to Yeager as far as his reasoning for starting earlier today. You know, again, you can think about recovery factor also being a part of starting earlier. And also, like you said, he was in the early start times, and then he was first out the gate. You know, this is gamesmanship right here, is wanting to set the time, set the precedent of, like, this is what I want to do. And, yeah, maybe he's ready for 2022.
Charlie Revel having a good ride here. We see he is starting to pick through some of the riders in front of him. Again, at 15-second intervals, I'm going to guess you'll see a lot of passing out there on the course. A lot of times we have maybe 30 seconds or a minute in the in-real-life races, and a lot of that is to try to minimize the passing that you see. But on the game, we might as well put everyone together. So short 15-second starting intervals, I think you'll see quite a few catches out there. But again, drafting is going to be turned off, so even if they do make contact, it won't have a big impact on the race. One of the hardest things to do on a trainer is keep a steady power. Keep that power at a certain number and just hold it there. It really is a skill. It's something you have to learn as a bike racer, how to do that. If you put an average person on a bike and say, hold this at exactly 300 watts, it's going to be more like 250 to 320, and there's sort of this range in there.
Or also the mind game is, if you start seeing the numbers dip a little bit just because you may lose concentration for a hot second, like, it can just mentally disturb you enough to where you're like, oh my God, what's wrong with me? I think something's wrong, and you just start second guessing everything, and you can really decline fast. So it's such a mental toughness game that's going on right now, and I'm sure there's so much stimulus with all these athletes as far as music and fans, and maybe somebody's back there cheering them on, because this is a very hard effort for such a short amount of time. I guess it's a long time for me, but
depends on how you look at it. Any time trial is a long one for me, so I'm right there with you. Yeah, but again, some riders will like this. The other thing that I'm really looking forward to is this Julius Scalu, Jackie Godby battle, because for the first time, we're going to see some climbing battles this weekend that'll take place uphill. And RGT obviously plays the power to weight ratio into the formula quite a bit. And so we finally get some sort of head-to-head climbing, mostly tomorrow and Sunday on the Mogollon and Gila Monster stages. But I think it'll be a much different finish with Godby and Skalloo over the next 2 days than we've seen with the flat finishes or criterium races that we've been doing in the Echelon Racing League. So I'm really looking forward to this weekend in our women's races.
Yeah, and we saw Skalloo giving it to Godby as best she could in the Iron Horse race. And she had created gaps every time she went up the climb. So, yeah, it will be interesting this weekend to see if she has learned or progressed or trained or, how to hone in on Godby as much as possible to try and beat her.
Skalloo, much lighter rider as well, so it'll be interesting to see how the game physics come into play. Picking up Peter Olejniczak on your screen right now for the Project Echelon Racing Team. Olejniczak, a very time trialist in real life. Looks like he's going to pick up John Cooper here, who we were just watching a little bit ago. It's a good chance for some new riders to shine, riders that maybe don't do so well in those 2-hour long road races. Maybe they're not great at the repeated efforts that you need in a RGT race like this to try to cover gaps. Someone like Olejniczak is a very strong 38-minute effort kind of guy, so this might be really well cut out for him today.
It's good to see Olejniczak. As a matter of fact, I was on a bike ride yesterday, and his name came up. There's a Minnesota fan here in town that asked me about him and how he's doing, so I'd say he's doing really well.
Yeah, Olejniczak, another guy who we watched race at a lot of these races in real life. He did a schedule with the Project Echelon team in real life this year, and nice to see him returning back to the virtual races as well. Such a great training tool. For the riders that are targeting some of these races this year, if you're looking at going to Tour of the Gila and really trying to turn a good performance, the ability to ride these courses is huge without having to go to Silver City. So I think you'll see a guy like Peter Olejniczak probably on this course a few more times between now and the in real life Tour of the Gila, and then I wouldn't be surprised to see him with
Yeah, they can come here and do the virtual race and kind of hit their numbers and potentially build off of those numbers through the year. And when they do show up in real life, they kind of already know and have that confidence in the back of their mind of, these are my numbers I hit back in January. This is what I have to do to get better. And now, yeah, in real life, I know what my warm-up was. I know the sensations of what it feels like to be on the climb. So, yeah, this is great recon for Olejniczak.
The one thing we haven't figured out how to add to RGT is the crosswinds. I guess we'll have to add a robot that pushes you around from side to side, punishes you for your choice of deep dish wheels. Well, you can see the helicopter up above, or hear the helicopter, I should say. Nice addition to our live coverage here. Doing a nice job following Warner here.
Yeah, if we can get helicopter, we can definitely get crosswinds.
Let's just hope the helicopter doesn't hover too low in the virtual world here. We've had that problem in real life a few times. Not in Silver City, but some other races around the world. Good look at Hayden Warner here in his paint cave. This is one of the guys that has one of the cooler setups. I like his lighting setup. LED lights changing colors.
A bit of disco.
Yeah.
Soon there'll be studies on lighting and effort. I'm guessing that Red Bull's probably going to be doing a study on this.
Oh yeah, great point. It's coming. Performance lighting. Yep, you'll be buying one of those in your bike shop here pretty soon.
We patent that right now.
There you go. I did see some riders that have their setups synced to the game. So there's technology now where the colors that the game uses can sort of coordinate with the other lights that they have around. And so they put the lights behind the TV, and then they'll have some other lights in their training room. So when it's a dark day, the lights get dark. When they're in a green area, the lights get green. When they're wherever they are in the world. It's pretty cool
Yeah.
technology. People are getting
There's
smarter
gotta
and
be studies
smarter
behind
every
this.
day
Yeah.
out there.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I guess Hayden Warner would be in the non-control group because his lights are all over the place. He's got every color of the rainbow every few seconds changing. He would maybe be a good guy to do this study. Dr. Warner would be able to figure it out. Although I think he's got enough on his plate. He sent me a message earlier today, said, with a picture of his beautiful child, by the way, says, after getting spit up on the cold weather kit, I got to move the setup inside today. So that's another part of being a bike racing father. Sometimes you have to deal with fatherhood.
You never know what you're going to get at home.
Yeah, exactly. That is one thing that you cannot plan for as you prepare for the in real life tour of the Gila.
RGT can't help you with that.
Right. Yeah. That's not, the coders are not working on that. All right, back with Hammond, just working his way down off of the first big climb of the day. You see at the bottom of the screen, that is the elevation profile of the entire course. And so you can see that first little hump that they've gone over. That'll be the return climb. So that's kind of the wide open section on the freeway that we were talking about. And they're going to hit the turnaround point where you see that very far white dot. That's one of our camera operators with headphones at the turnaround, and then we'll try and get some splits there as well for these riders.
Look at the speed of Hammond, 65k an hour. It's flying.
Yeah, he's moving. In Van Hill section, you can see the sort of dark blue in the elevation profile. And then Warner on the left side of your screen has come off of that and is now on to what is kind of the flattest section of the course, relatively speaking. This is, I guess, as easy as the course gets once you come off that big descent and then just before you get to the turnaround. Still a couple rollers to come, though. See the road section awaiting him. But Warner looks to be pretty comfortable here into his endurance zone. Talking about trying to keep that power steady. Also see his power graph just below those three numbers in the top left corner. That white line showing his power profile. You can see a dip there a little bit, and then he slowly built it back up. So you want to see smooth lines there in your power profile. Looks like Warner just in the zone where it wants to be. We talked about some riders racing in our Pro League here that came up from the Community League. Each week, the Echelon Racing League hosts the Community Series, and the week before the Pro Series. We talked about the Amateur Series at echelonracingleague.com. You can sign up there. Registration is free, and it's free to ride on RGT. So we're getting ready for the Tulsa Tough and Intelligentsia Cup coming up next, January 15th. Is the Tulsa Tough Community League. So if you want to give RGT a shot, check out echelonracingleague.com. Again, free to race, and RGT is free to ride. Well, for the Criterium fans, that'll be a nice change from this weekend. 3 days of hard, good old-fashioned road racing here at Tour of the Gila, and then we go to Intelligentsia Cup and Tulsa Tough, which will be much different, shorter format efforts in the Criterium. It's really going to be our first road race of the season coming up tomorrow and Sunday. The first big long stage with the first mountaintop finish as well. I think that's what I'm most looking forward to. That might be the deciding factor between Chalou and Godby. So first time we get to see the uphill battle to the line tomorrow.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, again, we you can go back to Iron Horse, and we did see, a bit of a climb, but it still finished on the flat and more of a downhill. So I'm really excited about tomorrow's race as well, Brad. This is going to be a good weekend of bike racing.
Warner looking fit here. Holding right around 45 kilometers an hour. He's just come to the top of the peak right now. So a little bit of a rest right now. You see him kind of resetting, saying, all right, still got a lot of racing to go as he comes up to the halfway point. Does it feel good when you get halfway? Are you like, I'm finally halfway, or is it like, I'm only halfway?
You know, I was sitting here looking at the profile essentially and just like checking the boxes. In my brain, what I would be doing is checking the boxes of all the little risers and climbs. But yeah, by the time I get to that last bit of red at the bottom, that's the last climb, and then the run back into town. That's what I look at, not necessarily the halfway point. There is a box in my brain that's like, oh, sweet, okay, you're halfway done. And I try not to look at the time, but, you know, for me, it's more of the rollers I have to push through.
And I think this is going to be it for Hayden Warner right here. We get our little intermediate check underneath the Argon 18 arch. And then just a last little bit of climbing up and over, back into the red zone for Warner here. Sort of redouble the efforts a little bit. And then it looks like Will Harden will be next to hit that intermediate time check. A little bit of a downhill here for Harden on the way in, just a slight 1% descent. But like you said, Lauren, you got to use that descent to your advantage on this one. It's not a chance to rest. You don't take a zero here. You're still riding on the way down. You're still adding watts.
Right, like you said, like the drafting is off, and there's no losing watts. Normally, we've been seeing through these races, we've seen the red numbers, and that means that it's negative, and you're just wasting energy. But now, time trial, there's no, you got to push through all of this. It's all watts all the time.
Yeah, really nowhere to hide except for that brief downhill section. But if you're not putting watts onto the bike on the way down, you are, you're going to have a rough time when it comes to the results. So keep it above 350 here for Will Harden, working his way back for Project Echelon Racing. And a nice 8%, 9% downhill slope here. I love how you can both see it in the game and obviously on the elevation profile there as well. There's some intermediate splits. Harden first 1:49, so that'll be first check of the day. Although he's going to have a much faster second half if he wants to match a Jaden Yeager time. Remember, Yeager's winning time 37:44 earlier today. I thought it was amazing that Yeager and Ben Thomas were so close in first and second over a 37-minute time trial. It was less than a second separating first and second place, about 0.6 of a second between Jaden Yeager and Ben Thomas, which when you're riding, they couldn't really see each other on course. It's not like they were racing against each other. To turn in 2 times that close, pretty impressive for Ben Thomas today.
Isn't that how it goes? I mean, you've done all this effort, and you got to think when you come across the finish line as Ben Thomas, like, where did I lose that? Was it wiping the sweat from my brow, or drinking my mix, or, from your bottle, or whatever? It's just like, it's so close after such a long period of time.
Kevin Bouchard-Hall with the best split of the day, coming in just under 21 minutes, a 20:49. So that would be on track to hit a 37:44. If you're at 20 minutes halfway through, you figure you're going to have a stronger second half. You save a little bit for the way back. So we'll see if Bouchard-Hall can at least come matching Jaden Yeager here, but he does have the fastest intermediate split so far in our second session of riding here. So this is your current leader on course in session number 2. Kevin Bouchard-Hall, watched him take a win. So this is a guy that knows how to race well on RGT. Not so sure about his time trialing abilities that we're going to find out today, but obviously at least a good first half time trialer with the fastest intermediate split.
Yeah, I think he's going to have to definitely push it over that last riser and try and create any more gains that he can there, because I think he'd probably lose a little bit of time on that downhill run into the finish to Yeager. But, we'll see.
Usborne in second at the intermediate split at 27 seconds back, 45 back for Matt Zimmer, and then minute 10 back for Zach Nair, with Sam Hogman with the fifth fastest intermediate split at minute 32 back. So Bouchard, Hall, Usborne still up there. Zimmer starting to fade a little bit, and then we go back to Zach Nair in fourth at minute 10. Nair was an early adopter of the virtual racing. There's a good look at Zach in his pain cave. You see the national champions jersey, one of the early stars of virtual racing when the pandemic first hit, really adopted virtual racing as sort of his wheelhouse, started working with a lot of his athletes in terms of coaching and trying to coach them in a specific indoor way, and it worked. He got a national championship, he got to represent the United States at the World Championship, and has brought on a lot of coaching clients as well for the virtual world. So he's kind of been a pioneer in virtual racing here.
Brad, he is stone cold killer eyes right now. He is focused and honed in.
You have to. And I think that's a big part of what makes a good virtual racer. Some riders have that ability to just focus and suffer for 45 minutes, and some riders not so much. It's I think you can tell before Zwift and RGT and all these platforms came along, if you were a trainer rider, you're doing well on these virtual platforms. If you were never a trainer rider, it might have been a tough transition for a lot of people.
Thank God for RGT for anybody that's not a trainer rider, because this is where it's at if you have to be out there. So, you're right? I mean, like, there were just different breeds, but that's the beauty of the sport, is it takes all kinds. So this is quite the gift.
Of course, with the constantly improving technology makes things easier as well. We're starting to add social elements to the games here. They can communicate, they can play these little mini games with each other, and of course the technology in the bikes and trainers and all that stuff starting to get pretty incredible as well. Bouchard Hall is looks like just going past Samuel Hogman here. I think he has just made the catch and pass on Hogman, so strike another rider off the list. It might be kind of nice with a 15-second interval, so you can just, if you're a good time trial rider, you'd be able to work your way up through those riders pretty quickly. Catching your 30-second or minute rider in real life is always a nice little reward, so get that little dopamine hit a few more times in virtual racing.
The little confidence boost as you pass, and you put the poker face on, like, oh, this is easy, dude. I was passed a lot by all the good athletes, and I'd always wave because I'm just having a great day. So y'all keep going hard, and I'm just gonna enjoy and wave to all the fans and all the volunteers and say thank you.
Yeah, it's important to note, not as a time trialist, right? And you can't expect everyone to have a good time trial ride, although I think we see that a lot of the good virtual racers, a lot of the good RGT riders also tend to be good time trialists, just because the game really rewards those long, sustained efforts. And so a lot of times the riders that do well on RGT are oftentimes time trialists in real life.
You are correct, yeah.
Just look at Eric Hill from the Project Echelon racing team. Eric also one of the commissioners with the Racing League, giving it a go down in his pain cave. Eric moves around on the bike a lot of up and down, side to side.
I guess you can do that, on the time trial in virtual world, because it's however you can get over this climb the fastest. It's not an aerodynamic advantage or disadvantage to stand up. So yeah, go for it. Smart.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. I never thought about that. You do see a lot of riders standing up a lot on RGT, but you would never do that in real life because that would slow you down, especially on the high speed sections. You would want to stay in your time trial tuck, as that's reward too, about your head position and all that stuff for the riders that really are trying to dial in those time trial positions. Once you get that position sorted, it's not a comfortable position to be in for 38 minutes of riding. I mean, your head is in this sort of very unnatural back position, your arms, your shoulders, none of it is comfortable. So at least you can get in a comfortable position on your bike here.
Brad, there are times when you can't even see up the road. Like, you'll literally look up the road, and you'll see athletes do this all the time. They look up, and like, okay, we're going straight. You know, there's no left-hand turns, no bends, no anything. And they'll stick their head right back down, and they have no idea where they're going. They're just going as hard as they can, as fast as they can, in whatever direction they're going.
And I always heard it's tough to keep your head up, too. The helmets, especially when they have those long teardrop shapes with the tails, those are designed to be looking straight forward, right? And so if you start dropping your head and looking down, just creates a significant aerodynamic disadvantage because you're now using that aero helmet in the wrong way. It's facing the wrong way. It's shaped the wrong way. And so you had to hold your head up. I heard that from a lot of riders, how tough that was, and hurt on the back of the neck.
They'd also put the race radio in the back of the helmet sometimes also, you know, you just something else to think about. And is it can be very uncomfortable, and all you want to do is, because you're going so hard, is to drop your head, but that's the worst thing to do. But anyway, back to these guys.
Matt Usborne second through the intermediate split at 27 seconds back on Kevin Bouchard-Hall. Still a decent time, about 21 and a half minutes on the intermediate split. Here is Usborne now in his Above and Beyond Cancer jersey, back in cell block H.
Can we just give him a different cell block every race? Next week it'll be
we're working on it. They got to move him around. You know, they never keep you in one place for long up there in the brutal Canadian prison system. Usborne going deep here. This is a guy who knows how to make himself hurt. He has that gift, that ability to deal with pain in a way that a lot of people can, and sometimes hard to watch, especially on the SIS zoom camera.
Yeah, he just had a cadence of 106, which is a good high cadence for a time trial. Usually around 90 to 100 is what I'm told is the magic area. But earlier we were looking at some of the cadence, and it was more around 80, 90 RPM. So yeah, that's interesting to see him with such a high cadence.
People have told me there are a lot of magic numbers, but I've never been able to hit any of them. The wattage, the cadence, the heart rate was always wrong. The times.
Maybe they're messing with you. They're just pulling your leg that whole time, just trying to mess with you.
Yeah. Maybe my number was just a little low. They were playing a trick on me in the lab. That was a bit. When they told me I was a professional cyclist. Stick to announcing.
There's still hope. No. Yeah. There's still hope. Hey, if I can come over and give announcing a shot, you can come back over to the road scene.
I think you would be much better at this than I would be at being a racer.
Questionable.
All right, Usborne on the front here. Zimmer into third spot. Everybody has now gone through the intermediate split, so all riders on course have gone through that intermediate split. I don't see many changes happening here. Zach Nair moving up into fourth spot at minute 10, but Bouchard-Hall and Usborne look to be the two that may be on track to try to beat the Jaden Yeager, Ben Thomas times of 37:44. 38:08 would still be good enough to get you into third. Brad Bickley did that earlier today for the third fastest ride, and then Jordan Shane did a 38:19 for fourth. Andrew Davenport did a 38:47. So really anything under 38 is going to get you inside the top five out there today.
It'll be interesting to see if Project Echelon can kind of stack the top five. Top 8 going into tomorrow. That's another benefit of a time trial starting out, is like, okay, so if you can't win the time trial, then hey, let's start playing the game of what's coming up next and how to put the winner under pressure, and especially with an uphill finish with Yeager's finish.
Yeah, Project Echelon can just swarm Yeager tomorrow and day after, so he'll certainly have a target on his back after performance earlier today. Looking at Jamie Furman here from the Triple X Racing Atletico squad, that Chicago-based team that probably knows indoor racing well, indoor riding well. Winters up in the Chicagoland area. Although they held out pretty well with cross nationals. We were out there for cyclocross national championships in DuPage County just a few weeks ago. They were not super scared of the cold weather, I'll say. They really came out in force there. So hardy folks up there in the Chicagoland area.
Those conditions looked intense. And hey, look, now that you're in real life in the cold, and now here you are in virtual world, nice comfy chair. How different was that?
I would have killed for this virtual world while I was huddled around a propane heater with my commentary partners. So, yes, I was thinking of this scenario while I was cracking my 20th hand warmer of the day to stick in my pocket. Travis Samuel, the Above and Beyond Cancer team, at about 20K of racing to go. This will be a fast final 15K because it's that downhill run back to the finish. So we can expect the second half of the second half, I guess. The last quarter of the race is basically downhill and the run back to the line. So you'll see these speeds continue to increase. In fact, it's like Samuel doing about 60K an hour right now on the way down.
That's got to feel so good on the legs to kind of just have that speed and leg speed at this point in the race. After doing those two big climbs, it makes you feel almost invincible if you don't try and look at the time and your numbers. But sensation, it's pretty good coming back in.
Eric Hill working his way, looks like up to Usborne here. Keep that gap. He's about 35 meters back right now. Although I think Usborne may be moving away from Hill here. So now Olenicek will be the next victim for Usborne at about 15, 20 meters up the road from Usborne right now. So we might see Olenicek in the camera shot here pretty soon. So there's the pass. Usborne catching Olenicek here. Olenicek putting in a good effort, but Usborne is moving here. This guy's cruising with 4.4 kilometers of racing to go. That means we should start seeing some riders on their way into the finish. Usborne started about halfway through into the group. So here you go, Hayden Warner. Hey, inside the last kilometer of racing, we'll start to get some early times here at coming up on 38 minutes for Warner right now. So he's already gone past Yeager and Thomas's time. But again, anything under even a 39-minute ride would get you into fifth place as things stand right now. So Yeager or Warner here, going to go at least top 5, I think, with this finish. Out of the saddle for the last 500 meters.
Yeah, now it's just limiting your losses for tomorrow and just trying to come across as fast as you can, kind of see where you'll be standing in the standings for tomorrow and, you know, what you can give away and what you need to make up for.
It looks like he's going to go just over 38.45. 38.47 was the time for fifth, and 39.05 or better will slot him to sixth. So that's going to be a sixth place ride there for Hayden Warner across the line.
I think he's pretty stoked on that.
And
that's a good effort.
Look at that effort. Yeah. It's a good feeling. Finishing up a tough time trial like that. Feels good to be done. I love having the SIS rider cams, being able to see the reaction of these guys as they hit the line. Back to Will Harden up next. Cranking out 5 watts per kilo on his way in at 1K to go. You see the Flamme Rouge there for him. Some nice messages from the Zoom room. Harden looking comfortable here, tapping out the tempo. as he comes up to 500 meters to go here. Still going to go inside a top 10 ride for Will Harden. I guess he comes right around 39.30, something like that. Here's the final kick for him. And then first thing you do, wipe all that sweat away, because there's a lot of it after an effort like that.
Oh, man, that's a brutal finish.
Here's Kevin Bouchard-Hall on his way, and this is a great time for Bouchard-Hall. In fact, he's going to set a new fast time here. 37:44 is the time to beat. He's coming up on 37 right now. He's only got 200 meters to go. This is going to be a close one for Kevin Bouchard-Hall. We have a new time here on course. And yeah, go ahead and lock in. We'll stop the clock at 37. We'll call it a 37:10 for Kevin Bouchard-Hall. New leader on course, besting Jaden Yeager by 34 seconds. So a great ride for Kevin Bouchard-Hall here to knock down a guy like Jaden Yeager, who is a through and through time trial specialist. Great ride for Kevin today.
Agreed. That is a really good ride. That's setting Kevin up for the weekend very nicely.
Charlie Revel up next, Team Tour 2000. In his last 100 meters, hovering right around 40 minutes of racing here. And he'll go just a little under 40:10. A top 15 ride for Charlie Revel. This will be Hogman up next. He's going to go just over 40 as well. So really, Usborne will be the next rider in that has a shot at setting at least a top 3 fast time. Remember, he was second through the intermediate split. And he will come in just behind Hammond. So here's Usborne now. Goes just over. Run. Yeah. Just ticked past Bouchard-Hall's time. He's still going to best Jaden Yeager here on the way in. This will be a 37:35-ish for Matt Usborne. We'll call it 37:34. Still beating Jaden Yeager's 37:44 and Ben Thomas's 37:44.7. So Usborne going to the second overall in the men here, just behind Kevin Bouchard-Hall. Not a bad ride for Usborne and Bouchard-Hall, knocking off some serious time over the 37:44 of Jaden Yeager earlier. Here's Smith on the way in, the Canadian, for the X-Speed United team. I think they have some cool kits. I like the X-Speed kit in the game here, the sort of dark blue with the neon X across the chest and back.
Yeah, those are good graphics.
All right, so final riders just finishing up. Saw Hogman on the way, and here's David Grief up next for Project Echelon. See, Project Echelon also has their new kit debuted in the RGT game here. They're getting ready for their 2022 road season, and they always have cool kits. They worked with Stice Design, that jersey designer that did all those cool kits last year during the pandemic lockdown. I really like the 2022 kit. Nice to see the classic black shorts make a comeback. I've always been a fan of the plain black bibs. Can't beat it. I like the light top, the dark bibs. I think that's the classiest combo out there.
Yeah, it's a good looking kit. I'm kind of biased, as you could imagine. So I'm pretty stoked to go check the mail when I get home.
Grief on his way down with about 1.3K of racing left. Coming up just over 40 minutes in.
It's interesting to see Hodges down there towards the bottom. I mean, I know he hasn't finished right, but yeah, I figured we would have seen him try to slot in or start earlier with the other guys.
All right, so we are going to try and go over to our SIS Zoom room and grab a word with Matt Usborne, second place on the day today, but a new fast time. Let's see if we can talk to Matt.
Hello, Brad. I'm in the Zoom room with Matt. Matt, how are you feeling after this time trial?
I feel like I just had an enema with a dump truck.
What are your impressions after your time trial on this course?
This course is really tough. I did a little bit of modeling for it on Best Bike Split, and it really wanted you to charge hard up those hills. So I tried to go out really hard and match some of the early pace by some of the hitters like Kevin Bouchard Hall, and I spectacularly exploded on the second climb on the way back and limped home.
Does this time trial change your strategy at all going into the weekend?
No, not even a bit. It's always going to have been where you've got guys like Zach Nair, Kevin Bouchard Hall, my teammate Brad Bickley, who are climbing just exceptionally well, and I'm a little bit on the back foot coming into this esports season. So for me, it's if I can play a spoiler role, or if I can lend some assistance to the team, kind of that's where I see my role.
Awesome. Well, good luck to you going into the weekend. Thank you, Matt. Congratulations.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Back to you guys.
Stunner shades. I love it.
Can we go back to his very first comment, though?
A man of style and words.
I think that's Pit Viper's MO, though, is to be a little bit edgy, and he nailed that.
Well, you see, here we go, our combined times here as Kevin Bouchard Hall sets the fastest time, 37:10 on the day. Still waiting to slot Usborne into these results. There you go, into second at 37:34, and then Jaeger into third at 37:44. So I'm a little surprised to see Jaeger's time fall so heavily to Bouchard Hall and Usborne. I thought it would be close, being Ben Thomas right at close 37:44. I was expecting times close to that. Did not see a 37:10 in Bouchard Hall's future.
Again, that first uphill is just so key, and then just like Usborne was saying, like he just totally blew up on that last climb. So, yeah, maybe Kevin just had that paced out perfectly. That's a great time.
All right, well, that will certainly change things a little bit. Heading into the 2 days of climbing tomorrow, the Mogollon and then Gila Monster Day. Getting ready for our pro women's starts coming up here in just a bit. You see those riders in the pen getting ready to roll out. We're going to take a quick break here from our live coverage, and when we come back, we'll catch our first starters from the elite women. Welcome back. First starters just about to make their way on course for our elite women and our para and hand cycling competition here at the Echelon Racing League. See some of our big stars getting ready in the SIS Zoom room. Jackie Godby up there in the top left. We've been seeing good results from Aaron Ayala up in the top right as well. One noticeable rider missing from this session is Julia Scalu. That's because she raced earlier in the day in our morning session set up for the European riders and set the fast time of the day with a 40.20, a blistering time with a 5.78 average watt per kilo for Julia Scalu. This is the matchup that we've really been waiting for. It is a wattage battle between Scalu and Godby here today.
This is going to be a good race. I am so excited to see this, and I hope Scalu has set a super fast time that Godby puts Godby under a bit of pressure. But even in good race form, Godby likes this and raising each other up to be better athletes.
Yeah, Godby is like, bring it on. Let's go. I mean, there is no rider that would like to see somebody that can ride at that level or match up to that level than Godby. So welcoming the new competition to the Echelon Racing League, that's for sure. She has finally met her match. There is Godby warming up right now, getting ready to hit the course, and that's going to be one that we're watching. This is one of the top virtual riders in the world. In fact, two of the best virtual riders in the world. Julia Scalu, #1 ranked on Zwift, and Jackie, obviously dominant in Echelon Racing League here on RGT. All right, so picking up our first riders out on course. This is Megan Easler of the Project Echelon team. Heading off at right around 4.5 watts per kilo for the early start here up the hill. It's got to be tough to hit that hill leaving the starting gate. I mean, to get right into it and start going uphill immediately, that cannot be fun.
I mean, you can see her effort right now. It doesn't look that fun. Yeah, but hopefully, like we've seen, that everybody's had a pretty good warm up, and you just want to get it over with as soon as possible, but as efficient as possible, and not really burn too many matches up and over like Usborne clearly described earlier in his interview.
Yeah, it's a fine line to walk between not doing enough and doing the patented Usborne dump truck enema effort that you described.
And Brad, you're doing it. You're essentially walking that line for this whole 40-minute effort right now. Like every single pedal stroke, you're on the verge of cracking. So it's composure under pressure as best possible is who's going to win.
Yeah, this is such a mental game as well. This is one part where I could never get that ability to just suffer and go into the pain cave. It's an athlete gene they either have or not. You either have that ability to push yourself suffer, or you're an announcer.
I likened myself to a yellow lab, because yellow labs, dogs, they love to chase a ball. So I was always a soccer player. So I'd much rather chase an athlete or a competitor than I ever would want to just run by myself, just like a yellow lab dog.
Can't stop. Well, just run until you can't run anymore.
Yep. It's like
Jack Godby looking pretty comfortable. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say she looks like she got some nice rogue Christmas gifts back there.
We're all still unpacking from the holidays. Jackie also just had to move to Riverside, California, where she started her residency. So, the early life as a doctor, you're in the kind of constant state of flux, moving around with your residencies and all kinds of stuff. So we understand if some things haven't unpacked. I still have my Christmas lights up, so I can't talk.
You said that you're set up for 2022 already.
That's right. I already have my 2022 Christmas lights up. That's right. I'm a festive guy. You know me. All right, we talked about Julia Scalu earlier with her 40.20. We also saw Maura Nelson turn in a pretty good time, 45.23, second fastest time of the day. And then Rhea Mobs also took to our earlier starting wave with a bronze medal performance of 46.02. So just to give you an idea of sort of what some of those times are looking like, but really 5 minutes between Skalou and Nelson into second place. So a dominant performance for Julia with a 40.20. I wonder if she's watching. I'd be curious to know if Julia stayed up to watch Jackie Godby's performance this evening. Although we're coming up on, I guess, midnight in Germany. Yeah, I hope she's in bed.
No. Yeah. But we've kind of seen that, haven't we, all this whole season, is Skalou and Godby kind of outpacing the rest of the peloton by a pretty significant margin. So, that's not too much of a surprise, right? But, yeah, it is very impressive to see the effort that these two can put out.
Yeah, and the big number to look at here is the watts per kilo. This is one where that number is actually going to matter a little bit more. We talk about it a lot in the road races or criteriums, where sometimes you'll see the second or third place rider with a higher watt per kilo on a time trial, but there's really no place to hide out there. And so I would think a higher watt per kilo average going to get you a better result on a day like today. So you see Easler doing a right around 4.5 watt per kilo average. That number listed to the right of their name on the leaderboard on the left-hand side of the screen. And you can see their current wattage up in the top left there as well. So we're looking at Godby and Easler here going head-to-head. Nice comparison of the two stats. You can really see the different level that Jackie Godby is adding on here. Doing almost a full 100 watts more here.
Yeah, and also look at the cadence difference as well.
Yeah.
It's a significant... I always feel like you spin to win kind of thing. Mashing is... You're just right on top of the gear. But, that's Godby's MO. So, man, she can push those big gears no problem.
Interesting to see Godby out of the saddle here. Something you don't see a lot from Godby. Really likes to stay locked into that saddle. It's a very steady, power-focused riding style. But just saw her jump out of the saddle there. I'm wondering if maybe she wants to make the catch on Easler. Has a little bit of a carrot dangling in front of her now, seeing Easler up the road.
Yeah, and just maybe trying to push over a couple of these rollers too, getting to her.
And there's probably not much that Easler can do here. I mean, when you see a rider coming up behind you, like you talked about, don't panic. That's one of the big things. Don't try and match their tempo. Don't try and match their pace. Just keep riding your own race. Pretend like it never happened.
Let it go. Let her go.
Well, and Godby puts in a little dig here into the red zone as she makes the pass on Easler, just making sure. Like when you pass on the freeway, you don't want to be side by side with the other person for too long, so you kind of jam down on the accelerator a little bit, get past them quickly. We talked about our pro men and pro women out there right now. We also have our para and hand cycling competitions underway. They're in a separate virtual world, but we do have them racing together. Here's Joe Bernier. Nice to see Joe out here in the Echelon Racing League. Joe is a fixture of Chicago area racing. Also a Paralympic medalist on the track. Competes in road and track cycling as a C3 para-athlete, a three-time Paralympian, went in 2012, 2016, and 2020, and has picked up 4 medals for us. He's got a gold, 2 silvers, and a bronze.
It's amazing.
And then Dennis Parengual up next. Been watching Dennis race with us every week in the Echelon Racing League. Nice to have so many consistent riders coming back week after week. You see Dennis wearing his Paralyzed Veterans of America jersey, the PVA racing team, one of the stronger and bigger veteran teams racing with us here in the Echelon Racing League.
It's good to see these familiar faces week after week.
Good chance to learn about the riders as well. It's been fun learning the stories of a lot of these riders behind the scenes. And learning about the world of para racing out there as well. We've been seeing a lot more events starting to adopt para and hand cycling into their schedules, which I think is awesome. And we saw that effort sort of spill over into the virtual world here as well, as Project Echelon and PVA worked hand in hand with RGT to help get para athletes, para avatars onto the game. So we started seeing those pop up in the game over the last couple weeks. Riders can choose recumbent or tricyclist riders if they choose. Pretty cool opportunity for riders to be able to pick those character game. Picking up some of our hand cyclists. Up next, this is Sander Koeman in the H3 category. Out on course, you see one of the hand cycles there. Sander riding for the ASC Olympia squad. I have to imagine this would be a very tough course in real life. Those crosswinds that you talked about on the able-bodied bikes, on these bikes too, you have, especially if they use the very deep profile rear wheels, that those crosswinds can really affect you quite a bit. None on the RGT game, luckily, so see some trees blowing in the wind. Those are just little in-game features. So Koeman about to start, big climb of the day for him.
It's going to be a gnarly climb.
Koeman so focused here. You know, one thing we talked about with the para and hand cyclists, especially the hand cyclists, the special way that you have to drink, right? Obviously, you're occupied the entire time, so we see a lot of riders using either a camelback-like situation or they have a straw while they're drinking. We'll also see those modified on their bikes. They have like a triathlon drink system. A lot of times riders will use that. It puts a reservoir somewhere else on the bike and then brings a straw up to their mouth so that they can keep pedaling with both hands.
I was just going to say, the Kuman's just pumping out a nice, steady cadence around high 80s and 90s. That's just beautiful.
All right, back to Godby on the right-hand side of your screen and Easler on the left-hand side. Godby coming up on just past 16 minutes into her effort. So looks to be pretty much on track for a new fast time.
Brad, Godby is just so steady. I mean, week after week, you would think at some point we would see her crack somewhere, and we just haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, especially no technicals either. I don't want to jinx Jackie Godby, but the fact that that she's been able to do really 2 seasons. I mean, going back to season 1 of the Echelon Racing League, it's just super consistent. Everything's always dialed. You can tell she's a meticulous person when it comes to the preparation, making sure everything works, making sure she's got good connection. She's also almost always the first person to log into the game. I've noticed she's one of the first people to show up in the SAI Zoom room, and she's always logged on to the game super early. So that's not a coincidence. It's not that she just got lucky all these years. It's because she was logged on a half an hour early, so if there was a problem, she could fix it and address it before the start and make sure that she's always giving herself the best shot possible.
Yeah, control the controllables. Check all those boxes of everything that you can do humanly possibly to make your day go as easy and smooth as possible, which she obviously can do very well. I prefer the procrastinators method. Last minute total freakout is way more fun.
Keeps things interesting.
Yeah. Got Erin Ayala here, putting forth a good effort. 300 watts, just cruising along, high 80s.
Ayala has plenty of fluids for Erin. Look at this setup. She's got 3 water bottles on the desk here, so all set.
I feel like some of those could be leftovers.
Probably. I'm an empty coffee cup hoarder on my desk, so I can only imagine what the training setups are like for a lot of riders. So Ayala at a little under 19 minutes in on the rollers right now. You see the elevation profile up in the top right. As we go back to Joe Bernier here, still tapping out his time in our pair and hand cycling competition. By the way, my claim to fame is I once raced against Joe Bernier at a race called the Super Week Pro Tour back in 2009. I am at the very back of this picture. You can just see a tiny piece of white helmet. That's me at the top of the picture. And then Joe Bernier is on the right side of the picture here, absolutely crushing this field. You see him in his Cymet racing jersey, but this is the closest I've ever come to my brush with fame when I got to race against Joe. It was one of my first and last criteriums at Super Week, and I'll give you a spoiler. My position never improved. This was lap 1, the photo you're seeing here, and it never got any better for me. So, but I did get to race with Joe, and that was an incredibly cool experience.
Now, why hasn't he on the Zoom?
That's a good question. We'll give Joe a good ribbing. See if we can get him on the Zoom maybe.
In Joe's
the rest
West
of the
Coast, is he not, or is he in Chicago?
Chicago, Illinois. Yeah.
Okay. Good people, Joe.
All right, so Jackie Godby
kind of a
coming
big
up
deal.
on halfway on her side. I think Joe is probably the most famous person in the race right now. I mean, what did I say? 5 Paralympic medals. Watched him in Tokyo this year, part of the team track sprint, did the individual pursuit and the time trial on the track as well. All right, back out to Jackie Godby, who has just gone underneath the halfway barrier. So Godby at 21:13 at the roughly halfway marker here, starting to work her way back. So she'll need a stronger second half if she's going to beat Julia Skalou's early time. She'll need to redouble her efforts on the way back.
Have we finally seen Godby come under a bit more pressure from Skalou? And is this Skalou's day?
It might be. All it took was 4 weeks of racing and 3 different courses and an individual time trial. Although Godby will absolutely be keep an eye on Skalou's time. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind she's got that written in big red ink where she can see it. Although she does look like she's starting to feel that effort. It's only 22 minutes, and this is by far the worst that we've seen Godby looking after a 22-minute effort. Normally, 22 minutes in, she's just at the front of the field, kind of controlling things, setting her own tempo, really in charge. But for the first time, 22 minutes in, we are seeing Jackie Godby suffering.
It's a good pressure for her, and a good spot for Skalou to be in. Week after week after just trying to do whatever she could to beat Godby and couldn't do it. So this is a new space for Godby.
Here's Megan Easler putting in quite the effort herself.
This is quite the commitment for these athletes to, Friday afternoon. You kind of want to slough off the week and slide into the weekend and, get ready for a good weekend of bike racing. And here they are just like hammering out a really hard effort Friday afternoon, Friday morning. That's just true commitment from them.
It's a tough way to get back into racing, that's for sure, with the individual time trial. It's a rude wake up, a rude welcome back to the world of virtual racing. Saw Aaron Ayala just go through the intermediate split at 2:29 back on Jackie Godby's 21:08. Ayala slots in just ahead of Megan Easler here into the second fastest intermediate split of session 2 here. So Ayala having a great day as well. She's been another super consistent rider here in the race. It's been a real pleasure watching her race.
Yeah, right, and progressing each week, I would say, and if she can stay on top of this pace and see if she can't come in and maybe grab a little bit more time on Godby, I don't really foresee that happening, but hopefully she can stay consistent and slot into a good result for this start of the race.
You got to remember, time does matter because they score the weekend based on GC time. So it'll be your time today, added with the time tomorrow, added with the time Sunday, assuming that they're relatively close together on Saturday and Sunday's finishes, which we think they will be, although I do think there may be a chance for some separation. But you also got to remember that, the time that you put in now is going to determine your lead in those GC battles. So Jackie Godby or Julia Skalou could find themselves in a situation that is insurmountable if they lose too much time here in terms of the GC battle, looking for the overall weekend win. So here's Nelson coming through the halfway point. At around a 26:09 for Maura Nelson, faster cyclist team. The other important part of riding, we talked about the GC scenario. It is stage race rules in the virtual Tour of the Gila, which means if you have a mechanical issue, a dropout, something like that, that prevents you from finishing this time trial, you do not start the road race on Saturday and Sunday. You're out of the race, just like if you don't complete a stage in a stage race. So it's important for the riders just to finish, just to be here, make sure that they make it to the line.
And you don't wish that on anyone, but it's definitely possible in the virtual world.
Right.
As we've seen the last couple of weeks, just some random freak accidents of unplugging or internet dropout. It definitely happens. Nelson is doing a heck of an effort, almost a 200 heart rate.
Here's Larson next. And Holly Larson goes through with a 27:45 intermediate split for her, the Velocity Vixen rider. It looks like that should be some of our final riders through the intermediate splits here. So I think it's really going to be about watching the second half of Godby's time here. And I'm very interested to see where Ayala slots in here as well. She's had some third place finishes in the criteriums, the patented Ayala sprint at the finish, jumping out of the group. Maybe one of the best finishing kicks in the Echelon Racing League. So we'll see if she can time trial as well today.
I'm going to say I remember her being a triathlete, so I would say, yeah, that she probably can put in a pretty good TT effort today. And, yeah, it's been a lot of fun watching her. Like you're talking about the sprint that she wasn't even in the screen. She came up for the win, or for third, excuse me, for win from the Peloton bunch kick. So, yeah, it's been fun to watch her progression a lot.
Got to be coming up on 30 minutes of racing here. You see her current running time in the upper right-hand corner on the hardest part of the course right now, by far. You see that red section and the elevation profile at the bottom. Doesn't get much worse than this. A steady 6% grind on the way up.
See the shoulders rocking a little bit in the zoom. Yeah. Godby's just praying to get over this with a full gas effort and then just hightailing it to the finish. Again, Brad just riding that line of complete out of control and fully in control is very, very finite.
And she's going to fly on the way down here because you see that elevation profile. Once she gets over the top of this, she's going to be continuing to throw 400 watts at it on the way down. So I'll guess we'll see her easily go over 60K an hour. Look at this, out of the saddle in the last bit of the climb here for Jackie Godby. Something you very rarely see, again, from Godby. Rider that just likes to lock in, tap it out, but she's putting in the effort here today.
No doubt. Yeah, like I said, trying to get over that last little ridge right there and then try and stay on top of that gear as much as possible to get up to speed and ride that wave all the way back down to the finish.
I think this is the longest I've seen Godby out of the saddle all season combined. She's doing it in the time trial here. Next thing you know, she'll be in those time trial bars, which I've still seen her do on the trainer, but obviously prefers the fit of her Argon 18 time trial bike. I also want to point out the brake covers that she has. She wraps the brakes in like fabric and tape to protect them from the dripping sweat. You see her rear brake is wrapped with like a rag and some tape you see in this shot. What she's doing is protecting those components from the dripping sweat while she's riding on the trainer.
Wow, that's intense. That's when you know you're giving her 100%. Huh. And it's such a nice bike. You just definitely want to take care of it.
Noticing Godby stays focused on the screen here as well. I comment on that a lot while we're watching the road racing in Criterion because it's so important on RGT to make sure that you're staying in that draft, to make sure you're watching the wheels in front of you, not letting any big gaps open up. But I guess in this scenario, she's probably looking at the power. She probably knows exactly where she can ride. It's very similar to the way that pros on the road will, stare at their stem. They're looking at their power meter because she knows exactly how hard she can go. She knows what her effort is. She knows what that magic number is, what zone she wants to be in right now. And I'm guessing she's just watching those metrics and trying to keep her body in a place that she wants to keep it.
You're exactly right, Brad. I mean, there's no doubt she's probably also looking at her cadence as well, just to see and to make sure, and the race profile, right? To know that she's only got so many more meters to get over the climb, and now the run into the finish. Just trying to count down all of that distance and just talk to yourself and have that positive reinforcement and that positive mental conversation with yourself of you can do this and get to the finish line. You're doing great. I don't feel anything. Legs aren't a problem at all. Just keep going. I'm gonna win. Like anything it takes to get to the finish line.
I know there have been studies that we talked about the VO2 max testing earlier. They did studies where they would have riders try and do their VO2 max testing with no encouragement and then try and test their VO2 max with encouragement. When you have the lab tech or whatever yelling at you, harder, come on, go, go, go. And they found a significant increase in VO2 max numbers when the riders were getting encouragement during their test. And so just that little bit of extra cheering makes a difference as well. So nice view here of Godby and Easler with their virtual and real-life cameras.
Godby just under, what is that, 5K to go?
Yeah, and this will be a fast 5K again at 33:50 for her right now.
And Easler just trying to get over that last little bit as well and try and stay on top of the gear.
Yeah, look at the elevation profile in Easler's screen, the upper right corner, just at the top of the climb right now. Oh, trying to keep those gels down. All right, so Godby coming up on Julius Galou's time. 40:20 is the time to beat. Jackie Godby at 34:26 with 4K to go. This one's going to be close. It's going to come right down to it. So we're keeping our eye on Godby on the left side of your screen and Easler on the right side here.
Just like all the races up until today, we've seen those two just going head-to-head and being right neck and neck to each other. So, yeah, today's no different, is it? It seems that they've both had the holiday season to have the same run-in for Gila TT.
Godby still on the way down, enjoying a 2% gradient. Working her way down the descent. Looks like she's mad at this computer screen. That's how you have to ride.
just a very focused individual.
It's amazing. Obviously a special individual. We talked about her athletic abilities, but also her pursuits off the bike, getting her PhD, recently finishing her thesis paper on peptide bonding. We talked about that in week 2. We'll not talk about it anymore because that stretched the limit of what my brain was capable of understanding. But
because you lost the sticky tape that said the exact what her thesis was.
it went all the way across my desk. It was about 4.5 feet long to fit the entire title of that thing on.
Very
and always a pleasure to talk to, too. Jackie's very well-spoken. She always has really great insights into the racing. I love hearing from her afterwards. Always has something new to tell us or after her efforts. And getting down to it, 2.5 kilometers to go for Jackie Godby here. She's got about 4 minutes to get there. I think she's on track to set a new fast time here for Skalou. Just very rough math. It looks like Godby should be able to come in under a 40-20 if she holds this speed for the next 2 kilometers of racing. And I'm guessing she's even going to have a little finishing kick to take a little more time off. So coming up on 37 minutes right now, 2K to go. So she's got about 3.5 minutes to get to the line.
Yeah, this is such good racing. But again, we've seen finally that Godby's been put under the pressure by Skalou. So this is good. And yeah, you're right. I think Godby's going to pull this one out as well.
Well, once you see her jump out of the saddle for that last kick, you know it's on. So we see Isler and Ayala also on the screen here on the right-hand side, watching Godby's virtual character and real-life character here on the left side. I love this. The shots matching up. We got the same camera view from our ZMS live stream camera as we have in our SIS Zoom camera.
Nice touch, guys.
There you go. And Godby getting a look at the 1K to go banner up the road for her. So Triple X Racing Athletico rider looking pretty good here to set a new fast. Again, 20, the time to beat. She's about 38.5 right now inside the last kilometer of racing. And here we go, down to 600 meters, 38.45 in. And onto the flats, just coming off of the bottom of the hill here. Under 500 meters, 40.20 again is the time to beat. She's got about 1:20 to get there. As she just goes to 39 right now, this should be fine for Jackie Godby. In fact, I think she's going to keep it under 40 here. So Godby going to give herself a nice lead over Julia Skalou heading into stages 2 tomorrow and then stage 3 on Sunday. We'll see what her final time is, but this could be, well, this might even be a little under a minute. Wow, Godby is going to crush this one. She will stop the clock at 39.28, we'll call it, for Godby. So just under a minute faster than Julia Skalou with a 40.20. Jackie Godby crushed it today. There is one queen of RGT, and you're looking at her right now.
Wow. And like you said, that's an effort right there where you can barely get off your bike. And you were right. She had that last bit. She had the last 500 meters, 700 meters. She kicked hard. She had a little bit left in the tank.
Well, didn't leave anything to chance as Jackie Godby crushes the individual time trial out there today. That's got to be feeling good heading into what we thought would be some different days of racing on Saturday and Sunday. Again, the uphill finishes of the Mogollon and Heel Monster stage on Sunday. Different matchup, Julia Skalou on those days, but Godby will at least have the GC lead heading into him. So she'll have a target on her back for sure. Back to Megan Easler, finishing up her last 2.5 kilometers of racing. Keeping it under 41:30 right now, working her way off the bottom of this climb. So we'll see where Jackie Godby slots in next. She's showing off her chocolate on the SIS Zoom room right now. We're going to have Emma grab a word with her here in just a bit. We'll talk with Jackie and get the chocolate update as well. One of the fun parts about watching Jackie Godby race, always fueled by a little bit of chocolate.
I think she needs my address. I think I need to try some of this chocolate. So if you guys, when you talk to her.
All right, so Easler down to 1.5K of racing to go.
Easler definitely has a lot of fight in her as well. I mean, she, you look running at a heart rate 186 and just trying to do her best to finish out this race. I mean, every time we see the Zoom, her Zoom video, she's just giving it 100%. It's good bike racing by her for today for sure.
Easler raced with us in Season 1 of the Echelon Racing League as well, so another veteran at this point of racing on RGT. Yeah, Easler out of the saddle, getting it all she's got in the last years of racing here.
Woohoo! All the way to the line, Easler.
Easler giving it here. This is how you finish a time trial.
Oh.
The Zoom camera just a little bit ahead of our game cameras here, but you can see the effort. Man, that's got to feel good when you're done.
Oh. Happy Friday night.
Oi, 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 oi. And then here's Ayala up next on the way in as Easler finishes up with a 44.35 for her. And here's Ayala into the last 500 meters. We'll watch the patented finishing Ayala kick here.
Yeah. And Erin's is she gonna slot in for third then?
I think so. Pretty close to it. We'll have to go back and add in the times from earlier today, but we're going to do about a 44.30, maybe a little under. And so, yeah, that would be third on the day so far with a 44.24. That does not... that beats Nelson and Mobbs earlier today. So, yeah, I think that will slot Ayala into third place overall. We'll wait for confirmation, get all the math sorted out, but another podium finish for Erin Ayala. Great ride.
Groundhog Day again for her. I mean, third place is still fantastic, following Scalau and Godby. So, again, a very proud effort. But you got to start to wonder, how do I move up a step?
Well, finishing consistently third to the talent that is Jackie Godby and Julia Skalou. No shame in that. So I think Ayala can be happy with her performance so far in the Echelon Racing League. Another third-place performance as we watch Nelson on the way in next here. Nice finish here, coming up on 4 watts per kilo at 1.6K to go. All right, so here are updated standings with our second wave of riders in. You see Godby with her 39.28, knocking down Julia Skalou into second. Erin Ayala will do third on the day with a 44.24. Congratulations. Megan Easler slots in for fourth. Great ride for Easler today. The Project Echelon rider taking fourth spot. And then Moira Nelson into fifth for the faster cycling team with Maria Mobbs in sixth. Dylan Baker into seventh. Cindy Freeble from the Beast Mode presented by Rose team, teammates of Julia Skalou into eighth with her teammate Kim Miller in ninth, and then Emma O'Toole, Project Echelon racing rider out of the UK, into 10th. So a pretty comfortable lead for Jackie Godby heading into stage 2 tomorrow. It's going to be just under 50 seconds, about 48-second GC lead for Jackie Godby heading into stage 2. Lauren, that's got to be a nice gap to work with.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm just looking at that, and that the confidence that she'll go into the rest of the weekend with that is just going to keep her leaps and bounds ahead of everybody else. And to know that essentially her biggest competition, as it has been all this whole time, is Julia Skalou. So, nothing's changed, but it's always fun to watch and see what tactics Skalou can try and do for tomorrow.
All right, sounds like we have our race winner, Jackie Godby, in the SIS Zoom room right now. So let's go over to Emma to talk with her.
Thanks, Brad. Happy Friday night to you, Jackie Godby. Great racing. Tell me a little bit about this course. What was the most difficult part about it?
So I think for me, the most difficult part was making sure that I saved up enough on that first hill. In any TT, you start and you're just ready to go. You're ready to get over with. You're all fired up. This is going to be 40 minutes of pain. And you want to jump into the pain right away. And I think that's a big mistake in this course, knowing that you have that nice, I'm just going to say, painful, delicious 5-minute climb on the back half. So I think the hardest part of this course for me is really reining it in and hitting that power goal for the first hill. I definitely overbooked that last hill last weekend when I did the community race. So I really tried to keep that in my mind this time and abide by the power goals my coach set for me.
What are your impressions? What are you taking away from this time trial going into the weekend?
First of all. But I'm taking away, looking at the times that the other riders put down today, looking at the times that Julia and Megan put down. Once again, it's going to be a totally painful, awesome battle. I know they're fantastic climbers, and I think the Mogollon is really the first true mountain stage that we're going to see without the downhills that I love so much that give my heavier self a chance to catch up. So it's going to be exciting, and I am ready to put my all on the battlefield, so to speak.
Speaking of the climbing portions, are you excited for them?
In the way that I'm excited for every race and excited for pain, yes. So I'm excited to see what I can do. I think I'm in a great fitness place right now, so put some personal bests. But I think like all bike racers, I realize it's going to be really painful. It's going to, plumb the depths of my soul. So there's a little race anxiety as well. Like, oh my God, which I think is good.
Congratulations to you, Jackie. We'll see you later on in the weekend. Brad, back to you.
Thank you so much. Have a great weekend.
Thank you very much, Emma. Congratulations, Jackie. Another consistent ride for Godby, and I think pain was the name of the game out there today. But Godby still seemed in good spirits. She ate that pain up like butter.
Her mindset on and how she feels about pain is very refreshing, is the best as I can put it. She is excited for it, and she's ready. And just to hear her talk about it, I mean, it's like, oh, okay, pain's not so bad in her mind. No, thank you over here. Yeah, so it's good to see Jackie's in such just like a good mindset about bike racing, and it's good to see.
Yeah. Oh, we talked about some of the climbing tomorrow. They will have plenty of that on tap for the Mogollon stage of Stage 2 in the virtual Echelon Racing League before we move to the Gila Monster on Sunday. But this is what's waiting for them tomorrow. A much longer day. The climbing really doesn't start until this finish. You can see this last kick up to the line. That is going to be where the GC is going to be decided tomorrow, and we are really looking forward to the Godby-Skalloo battle on this final climb of the day. So, Lauren, it's a new course tomorrow, and this may be the big one that we've been waiting for all season.
No doubt, like a slow burn into this climb instead of having to set up just a little bit like we've seen in the time trial today. You know, and again, Jackie's done her homework. She did the community race last weekend. She overcooked herself and didn't realize that last climb was coming. And again, she just prepared herself so well. And like you said, that she's been that person these last 2 years that checks every single box, and she's checked those boxes. So I don't know how she's going to be beat by Skalloo this weekend, but I'm excited to see it, and I really am looking forward to tomorrow.
Well, Jackie Godby proves again today that she is the rider to be beat here in the Echelon Racing League. So another strong performance from her as she notches another victory in the 2022 Season 2 of the Echelon Racing League. So that's going to do it for us from our time trial coverage of Day 1 of the virtual Tour of the Gila. For Lauren Hall, my name is Brad Soner, saying thanks for watching. Coverage resumes tomorrow, 11 o'clock Eastern. We are back live with our elite men, and then we'll have our elite women immediately following that for the Mogollon Day, Stage 2 of the virtual Tour of the Gila, coming up tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern. See you there, same place here on the Echelon Racing League.